We are fortunate today to have Judge Brian Quinn. He's the Chief Justice of the Texas 7th District Court of Appeals. He joined the court in 1995 and became the Chief Justice in 2005.
Read the preamble of the Constitution. I wanted to start off with that, but that's okay. We'll go on. What I'm going to talk about is not so much the different parts of the Constitution, but something that's been very important of late. Recently, how many of you got to see on the news recently nomination and Senate confirmation of the Supreme Court Justice, the newest Supreme Court Justice, Elena Kagan? Got one, got a few people? Young people don't watch TV, you guys are playing electronics, right? Okay, that's what I thought. My son does that too. You can find, if you listen to that, much of what the candidate is being asked really has nothing to do with specific provisions of the Constitution. It deals more with how do you interpret the Constitution? How do you read the Constitution? And that's what I'm going to talk about, is interpreting the Constitution in the different ways you do that. First of all, let's start off with, what's the Constitution? Who knows? How many are high school students or middle school students in here? Raise your hand. How many are college students? High school students, have you taken civics, government class? Yeah? If you not, have you gone over the Constitution? Good? Let's talk about what the Constitution is. See, you didn't know I was going to give you a test, did you? What's the Constitution? And you college people, you got out of high school, you probably took your government class too. And if you're at least a if you're a sophomore in high school, you've had to usually have had government your first year. Constitution, what's the Constitution? Young man, green. Come on.
He's all here.
You're shy? We're all shy. You guys have a Constitution, don't you? You don't have a Constitution written document? You guys follow Magna Carta? Okay. That's okay. See, you can tell them that a judge was picking on you when you go back to Australia. You're not from Australia, I know. Okay, stand up and tell me what the Constitution is. Come on.
Well, that's the Declaration of
Well,
Independence.
that's a precursor. That's good.
Yeah, because I know the Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson.
Very good.
Because I know them, but I'm getting them confused between the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence.
Okay, Declaration of Independence came first, and you had the Constitution.
Right.
Then you had part of the Constitution that came first. You had like about, 6, 7 articles of the Constitution. And then you had amendments, which contained the Bill of Rights. That came after, relatively. Okay. So, hey man, you're gonna put it on YouTube and you're gonna go viral.
I know.
How's that?
It's like sophomore year in high school.
But look at that, all the young ladies are gonna see and go, I like that guy, man, he can handle himself. Constitution, what is it? What's it say?
It's like the way we live, like kind of like guidelines the way like they wanted us to live.
The way we live? We being us or what? Or the government?
The government.
There you go. You got it. Very good, very good. Before the Constitution, what was there? Well, there was Articles of Confederation, but they didn't work. The whole idea is before the Constitution, there were people. And the people wanted to get together and determine how we're going to live. Well, we all got to get together. We're civilized. How are we going to do that? How are we going to provide for different things? So they came up with the idea, well, let's develop a Constitution. And under this Constitution, what we're going to do It's tell the government what it can do. We're going to create a government, and it's going to be the guidelines of those governments. Well, number one. Who's got number one? Stand up, young lady. Here, let me give you this. Go for it.
The question respecting the extent of the powers actually granted to the federal government is perpetually arising, and will probably continue to arise so long as our system shall exist. A constitution to contain an accurate detail of all the subdivisions of which its great powers will admit, and of all the means by which they may be carried out into execution, would partake of the prolixity of the legal code, and could scarcely be embraced by the human mind. It would probably never be understood by the public. Its nature, therefore, requires that only its great outlines should be marked, its important objects designated, and the minor ingredients which compose those objects be deduced from the nature of the objects themselves. McCullough versus Maryland.
Very good. Very good. Now, it's not always good to recite to an audience because they go, oh my God, I'm going to go to sleep. That's what we're going to be doing in a little bit. Basically, what she said is what he said. McCullough versus Maryland was decided back in 1819 by a guy named John Marshall. He was Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court at the time. And he was asked to determine an issue with regard to whether or not Congress had the right to create a federal bank. And he had to determine whether or not the argument that, well, there's nothing in the Constitution that says you have a right, Congress, to create a federal bank. Can you do it? If it's not specifically in the Constitution, can you do it? And that's what he said. He said, wait a minute. Constitution is an outline. An outline. It doesn't have everything in there. If it did, it'd be like a code. You guys are too young. But someday you're going to be worried about the Internal Revenue Code because you're going to be making big bucks. Internal Revenue Code is like this thick. And that's what John Marshall's saying. You don't want it to be specific because you're going to have a code this thick and nobody's going to read it, nobody's going to understand it. Just like the Internal Revenue Code. So it's an outline. It's, I don't want to say vague, but yes, in many ways it's vague. For instance, number 2. You got the microphone? Okay.
The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution.
Very good. Number 3. You can save the applause to the end, but you did good.
To make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into the execution of the foreign powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution and government of the United States or in any department or office thereof.
By the way, who's got number 5? See, I don't have number 4.